first, let's get into Holly, the joke of the week.
Okay, so my neighbor, saw me kneeling down, busy in my garden, and walks up to me and says, what am I doing? And I was like, well, I'm putting my plants in alphabetical order. And he said, really? I don't know how you find the time. And I said, well, it's right next to the sage.
Hey.
Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah, there you go. This weekly joke is brought to you by
Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family home, yard, and protected from pests, insects, wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
So, a couple of weeks ago, it made its rounds on social media.
I just want to welcome everybody back. Yeah. Maybe the winter has been restful. I hope it has been restful. It's been restful for us, and maybe you're hopefully in the beginning of garden planting stages, or maybe you already started. Who knows?
If you are tuning in for the very first time, this is a Garden Talk radio show, husband and wife team, and we help you through your gardening season. We bring you context and informational conversation and segments, guests from across the country, and we'll answer your garden questions. So happy to have you along.
So today we're going to talk about, there was this article put out by the University of Michigan.
This made its rounds on social media a couple of weeks ago. Sorry that we're all on social media. It can be good and bad, but this is what is.
It is what it is. So University of Michigan-led study finds that fruits and vegetables grown in urban farms and gardens supposedly have a carbon footprint that is on average 6 times greater than conventionally grown produce. Now, when you see articles
first of all, we're going to try to keep this as informationally neutral and no politically agenda given here. We're just going to tell you, we're going to use common sense on this.
Right. So a lot of times when you see articles like this, you have to think about, in studies and whatever else, like who are they studying? What are they studying?
Or why, right?
So it turns out that this article was based on gardens that were like communal plots, very like high-tech raised beds, landscaped, like highly landscaped, highly weed-controlled fabric, manicured paths, benches, watering infrastructure, etc., rooftop gardens, like the fancy gardening.
But if you have, and there's people listening that have those types of gardens.
There's nothing wrong with that, yeah.
Once you take the initiative to construct that and invest in that, the maintenance is very simplistic over the years.
Right.
It's getting getting established first, getting the landscaping done, the raised beds, the compost brought in, all of that. And most of this in which this article is speaking about, it doesn't address that the average grocery store stuff comes 1,500 miles away. The pineapples, the avocados, and all of this stuff.
And that's another thing that was pointed out is the nutritional value of your backyard plants, and then how they're higher nutrition and you're not going to the store, how it's not traveling. And then there are certain things that are grown in greenhouses, and greenhouses are not as don't produce as nutritionally dense
in most aspects
as they once did.
Yeah.
Now it's become almost like a large agricultural production. Mm-hmm. And it's like, quick, get it out. And so, so they talk about that. They do talk about you could do some research if you want and determine where you are located. And maybe it is better not to grow certain things. Like, for example, if you have, easy access to watermelons, then don't grow watermelons.
Well, I was at the big box store, and watermelons, now it's March. Watermelons are nearly $10.
They had watermelons there?
Yes, $10 at the big supermarkets.
That's weird.
Yeah. But yet, but yet, in the summer, people will drive down the road and see, 2 watermelons for $20. Pull over, let's get some.
Well, that's because they're like fresh in there.
I know, but still, it's.
Joy and I shop different places. Yeah. So I shop at a much smaller store with it's very economical.
It's called research.
And it's very efficient. It's based out of Germany. You might know what store I'm talking about.
But the study, when you go to a farmer's market, most, if not all of that produce that is at the farmer's market comes within a very small radius of where it's being sold to you from.
Absolutely. And that's, that's a good point. Just like sometimes when you can't grow something, maybe like, for example, we can't grow broccoli or cauliflower, and you might get it from a farmer's market. If it's something might have a larger, if it's important to you, might have a larger environmental impact, maybe you, or yeah, and it's better to buy it from the store, then that's an option as well. But they did also note, so like on a happy note, they also noted that there are mental and physical benefits of gardening, which obviously, and that's important. And even like something like a community garden, how that's a social thing for many people. And we have, over the last few years, have lost a lot of social connection, whether it be...
Sometimes that's not bad.
And there's even like, I'm not going to go on a huge tangent here, but there's something called a third place. A lot of people working from home and have kind of reeled in their social ways no longer have a third place. Third places are often like the gym or a bar or a church or library, and not everybody utilizes those things anymore because of how we've shifted as a society. And so your communal garden could be your third place too. So, and
these titles, and it's pretty much basic across all platforms, but a new report says gardeners are destroying the environment. Stop backyard gardening. It's one of these, we got to click on it, see what kind of junk, why are we bad people now?
Right.
It's called clickbait.
Absolutely.
Now, not discounting the study itself, but the study commonsensely doesn't make sense.
Right. And that's the thing is, like, when you do see these articles, and while, the research, it's a university, so they have decent research. But when you see these articles, you have to keep in mind of where the research is coming from. And if it's, I'm not saying this is bias, but what the bias is.
Every story has a bias.
Yes.
Every news media, every TV show, everything has an agenda. Even some YouTube channels have an agenda. There's some very neutral that they don't give up about anything. Here's what I'm doing in the woods. But others, just
like statistics, right?
Yep.
You could talk to one person like me who doesn't like cooked carrots, and then you could say 100% of people don't like cooked carrots, but because it was one person, that's 100% of people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you have to keep that in mind as well. I would say if you are concerned about your carbon footprint, then follow, good old reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose in your garden.
Which is the motto of most farmers and urban farmers and urban gardeners, that if I don't have to buy it, let me see if I can find it. If I can't find it, let me see if I can make it before I have to buy it.
And then think about things like irrigation, rain barrels, ways to provide water to your garden without offsetting having to utilize or overutilize those resources for water. Composting. I think that most people who are gardening utilize a lot of these things.
There's new gardeners that don't know how to, and that's why there is some very reliable and educational videos, articles, and programs, audio programs that help educate them, because we saw the boom in the what now they call it the COVID years. I heard that term used, the COVID years.
I didn't want to talk about that.
Where we saw a tremendous increase in social media gardening numbers across the platforms. And we saw an increase in everything that we did when it came to gardening. That has decreased now because everybody's gotten back to normal life, whatever that means. But some are still holding on to it. And we're seeing an age now where, I guess it's called the boomers, are either getting out of gardening or sadly are passing away. And their children and grandchildren are understanding to some level that things that once were good may not be as good as they once were told that was good. And they are trying to alter what they are consuming and feeding their children, whether by locally or backyard sourced.
Absolutely. Even down to like microgreens.
Yes.
So I think that is all very notable. And I think the takeaway here is, yes, you can find a good impact on the environment and a poor impact on the environment in many activities.
Right.
And gardening is one of the ones where you can kind of control what you're doing to an extent, and what your impact is there. And I feel like a lot of people are pointing fingers in regards to environmental impact, and it shouldn't go to backyard gardeners. But that's just my opinion.
Yes. Well, as we start off season 8, we welcome back WaltonsInc.com for their 4th consecutive season because you bought what they're offering. Holly, tell people about Waltons if they are not familiar with them.
Yeah, we are brought to you today by our sponsor, Waltons. We know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At Waltons Inc., you can get the equipment, seasoning, supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. You want to make snack sticks that people will actually like. Waltons created meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. They even have a full line of meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, and more to help you go from animal to edible. If you use code GROW50, you can save 10% off your order of $50 or more.
$50 or more.
$50 or more. And Waltons, everything but the meat. That's waltonsinc.com or meatgistics.com.